My name is Ben Booth, and welcome to Big Sky Voices.
And I'm Victor Wamette with Storyteller Films, and today our guest is
Glen Veretto, and Glen is a unique guy. Glen, do you mind? I'm going to share a little about one of your meetings that I went to.
You bet.
We spend a lot of time with movie producers. The man that just walked out was a movie producer, and we hear a lot from people telling us, oh, I wish I could do this project. I wish I could do this documentary. I wish I could do this thing. But there's just not any money in this state, okay? And so my experience, I'll set it up for you, is I went to a meeting with Glen and some of his friends, about 47 of them, a number of plus or minus. And this guy stands up and he says, okay, we're going to go around the room and see who has got some cash that you'd like to invest. And he talks to one guy and he says, oh, I got 30,000. And another guy says, well, I think I've got about 80. And this other guy says, I've got 150. And then one pops up and says, I've got $1.5 million. And then another one comes and says, well, maybe 700,000. And when we finished that room, we had $30-something million sitting around that table, or more.
Or more.
And most of them were right here from Albuquerque, New Mexico. And I looked at Glen, he's sitting there, and my eyes were, and I thought, wow, I'm so used to hearing people tell me what they don't have. And before that day was over, a lot of people made investments in various projects. Glen, you helped start this organization.
I did. I started it about 38 years ago.
38 years ago.
And the way we started this company, just a little background on my group called New Mexico Council of Exchangers.
And these are mainly real estate
All real estate
transactions?
brokers.
Okay.
There's 4 of us at the having coffee one morning, and the market was tough back in the 70s, just kind of like it has been. It's very cyclical, and financing was tight back at this particular time. So a thought came to my mind. I says, you trade cars, you trade this, and this. Why don't we open up a group that trades real estate? And we formed this little group. There was 4 people in the beginning. And the reason we do this, money's tight, money is not obtainable, but there's some big benefits in trading a house on a fourplex, this sort of thing. There was a big demand for this at the time. Mm-hmm. So we formed a group. We went from 4 to 10 to 20 to 50. The peak was 250 people 10 years ago. Mm. And the reason it's not so much today is because people have a lot of cash. They don't need to do trading, so they're out buying and selling.
Okay. So
you're saying our economy, people are more liquid today than they normally
Absolutely.
are? Now, why is that?
A lot of people don't know how to buy, what to buy. They need counseling to maneuver. A lot of people that are in their older age, they're comfortable making a half a point on their money in the bank.
they're a little risk adverse, aren't they?
There's always a higher the risk, the higher the reward. This has always been the way it is in real estate.
So, Glen, what do you counsel your people to look for when they're thinking about what to do with this cash that they have accumulated?
Benefits.
How do you mean?
If I have $1 million in the bank and they're paying me a half a point, that's not smart thinking. If you can show them a direction on how to invest that property into existing paper, existing mortgages, or buying an income-producing property that'll net you out 7 or 8 or 10%, that's smart. That's smart thinking in the real estate business.
Mm-hmm. And would you say there's more of that kind of money laying around looking for a deal?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
You know, and something I have found too is one day Victor called me and said, hey, I've got a guy that just sold a business and he's got $4 million, okay? And I just happen to know another guy that had a big hunk of property right off the interstate. And so I went to him and I said, hey, what do you want for that thing? And he says, I'm going to ask about $3 or $4 million. And I said, I'll cut you a buyer. Just like that, okay? But the seller didn't want to sell it. He wanted to keep it. He says, you know, the way this economy is, I think it's going to get a little better. So I don't want to sell it. And I said, yeah, but I got $4 million cash here. I'm ready to roll, you know. And I could not get him to turn loose of it, you know. So you know that. I mean, that sounds like a story you've had many times, right?
It has to be a win-win for the buyers and sellers.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what real estate's all about.
Yeah.
But sometimes you've got to counsel these people, show them reasons why they should or why they shouldn't.
Yeah.
Well, what do you find the biggest I want red lights, risk factors. What are the questions that people should be asking that you counsel them to ask and examine?
Again, we're back to high risk, high rewards. That's what sales is all about. You want to take out all the risk out of a deal that you can.
Okay.
This is what we all look at. We want to make it win-win for all the players.
So in other words, say a guy, maybe they don't like mobile home parks, but they do want a mini storage place, and so maybe you try to move it around, swap, do an exchange, try to get them to where they feel comfortable.
And what you got to do, it's called comfort zone. There's people who like apartments, there's people who like shopping centers. A lot of people like vacant land because they're not making any more of it.
Right.
So it depends on how involved you want to get into your deals. If you want a passive investment, you are going to buy land. If you want an aggressive investment, you're going to get into the apartment business. You get a higher yield on apartments, you get today's money, but you don't get a whole lot of appreciation like you would in a piece of land somewhere.
What we see in the movie industry, which is a good job creator for this area, I've had probably 6 different people approach me and say, boy, I wish we had a big facility that we could do production in. You know, something that's got overhead doors and maybe it's 3 stories tall so they get the big cranes and stuff inside of it and do the thing. And what would you do if you had someone that says, oh, I'm going to spend $30 million on a film, and that's not a lot for a film nowadays, but it still seems like a lot. But on the other hand, they would like to know that there is another film production facility here. I mean, what do you do? I mean, how do you approach that? You just go out, do you find someone to build one, or what, you know?
Your best buys typically are something existing. If you can buy a building and convert it to your use, the cost is much, much cheaper than buying a piece of land and building it
Straight up.
Straight up.
Yeah.
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 But what you described, that's a hard thing to find.
Yeah.
Something of that magnitude.
Yeah.
So that is a specialty kind of a building you would most likely have to buy your land, build your facility.
So I'm looking at your notebook here, and the bottom line says, dare to soar. What's that mean to you?
Most people in the real world, especially when you get in your 50s and 60s, they become very, very content.
Yeah.
You have to go outside the box. You have to, again, we're back to the risk factor and so forth. You have to have some guts to get into this right here and to step outside the comfort zone.
Do people have fun with it?
You can.
Yeah. Yeah.
Real estate is very cyclical like most other businesses, but when it's good, it is really, really good.
That is fun. Huh?
Yeah.
It is fun. It's fun to make money.
Yes.
This bunch of exchangers that I went to last weekend, that was one of the most fun days I'd had in a long time. Because smart people,
Very smart people.
classy people. They weren't, you know, seemed like high class people. They all had on Levi's except me and maybe you. A couple of us had on suits. But I looked out in the parking lot and there were a bunch of Cadillacs and Mercedes, and there were examples that somebody had made some money in that crowd.
Totally, totally.
But the group, do you have to be invited to join it? How does it work?
We kind of handpick our people.
Yeah.
It is invitation kind of a thing.
Yeah.
We don't turn down somebody that, you know, that it's honorable kind of a thing.
Yeah.
But we do pick our people pretty much.
How in the world did I get in there?
You're lucky. No, we like people of your caliber.
Yeah, well, I was impressed with the quality of the people. And your company is Rocky Enterprises. Now, is this just your own cell-phone business?
I had a company called Realty Executives for 30 years.
Uh-huh.
Now, we were builders, developers, residential, commercial. We had a title company and we had a mortgage company. This is in the 80s and 90s. I closed my company down 10 years ago when the bottom fell out of the market. And I just went from Realty Executives to Rocky Enterprises, and I work out of my home.
Yeah, yeah.
But I've done every facet of real estate from residential to industrial.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you know, we did that. I had an office over in Wyoming, and you know, had a little front place for a secretary and an office in the back, and of course it had a conference room. And I looked at the rent on that, and I thought, you know, it'd be better for me to get a bigger house. And in this house, we've got 4 offices, actually 3 offices and 1 little conference room.
Wow.
Plus we've got a studio here. And But the fact of the matter is, it is better for me than having an office. You know,
Of course,
you know,
of course.
I can work here. Victor, I suppose you've got a
I have a home office as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't trade for it because there are mornings where I just want to go sit up on the roof and look for balloons or something, you know, and
Yeah.
take my cell phone up there, and I'm still in business.
This is the best of all the worlds.
Yes.
It really is.
Yeah.
Most people our age, they do the same kind of work.
Yeah. If someone wanted to contact you, this will go out, and our audience will vary from 10,000 to 200,000. Okay, and we don't know who all will see this, but we've got a pretty good exposure in the United States and in about 29 countries. If someone were to get in touch with you and they say, I want to talk to this guy, I'm looking for an investment, or I need some information on real estate, how would you like them to get in touch with you?
Email or cell phone is good.
Okay.
What's your email?
Go ahead.
Email is Glen Veretto, GlenVeretto @AOL.com. My cell phone number is 505-379-5300.
Okay. And now I want to ask you for some advice, but we won't call it official advice, but I want your opinion on something.
Free advice, that's what it is.
If you were middle-aged and you wanted to invest in a good property that would return some income but then have appreciation potential, what kind of property would you look for?
If you're in your 40s, you need to be long-term properties, you need to be short-term properties that gives you instant cash flow. But you really make your money in land because they're not making any more of it. If you're able to get like a fourplex with monthly income that will cover your debt service on your land, that's probably about as good as it gets in real estate at that age.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. So income producing, get a little cash flow out of it, but
Right.
then go for the long haul, right?
That fourplex will offer you write-offs, monthly income, and usually decent appreciation as well.
So, some of these actors that we talk to that do hit it, and you know, that's the 1 in 10 or 1 in 50, and they really hit it big time. Would you suggest real estate's where they need to be?
You know, real estate has always been the safest investment in America. I have a lot of friends, including myself, that has lost a buku money in the stock market.
Right.
Timing is everything. You got to have some insider information for the stock market. Real estate is solid. If it goes down, it will eventually come back up, and that's kind of where it's at today. But there's nothing safer than real estate.
Really?
Well, you talk to people in Denver and Phoenix and Las Vegas. I know. What is it about Albuquerque that attracts their interest for investing here?
Wild West.
Wild
is where
West.
we're at.
Okay.
Real estate's cheap. If you compare housing, for example, housing in Albuquerque is $150 a square foot. You go to Denver, Dallas, Phoenix, you're looking at $250, $300 for the same comparable house. And that's why New Mexico is wide open for opportunities. We've not caught up with the pace of the bigger cities, and this is where the opportunities are today.
Okay.
So
good.
even though it seems like this house was too expensive as compared to other markets, it's a buy. Is what you're saying?
It's a super buy.
Yeah, amazing. Well, Glen Veretto helped organize the Council of Exchangers, and how do they pronounce that G? Is it G or Key?
Exchangers.
Exchangers.
Yeah.
And I want to tell you, they do have money and they know how to trade properties. And I recommend this man to you. He's a wonderful guy to sit beside at these meetings, and he knows his business. And we're going to do some business with you, my friend.
Would like that. There is opportunities here.
I think
Great.
we've about got our time.
Okay. I'm Victor Wamette. This is Big Sky Voices, and this is my compadre.
Ben Booth, and what a pleasure to have you at this table. Thanks for coming
Thank
over.
you.
Thanks, Glen
Thanks for the
Veretto.
invite. I appreciate the
Have
invite.
a great, and I'll send you a link. You'll see this on the air, and do what you want to with it. We're nonprofit, and
Great.
but if we can help people like you to get out there and people discover, it helps. And Victor and I say, just keep putting a few drops in the ocean. That helps everyone.
Yep. Helps every time.
Yeah. Thank you much.
All right, thanks.
Adios.